Start. We've got the Prototype Cup Germany qualifying session underway here at Hockenheim. This championship launched in 2022 and second season now for these LMP3 class cars. They're powered by naturally aspirated Nissan V8 engines. Just that here at Oschersleben. Sunny weather set course for the whole weekend here and practice session yesterday. Now we're on track to second race, first race of the weekend. Having had similar conditions yesterday. The first cars on track today. It's 15-minute session where the cars just started to put in their first laps of the session now. Pit stop races coming up for these weight ratio around about 950 kilograms is the entire weight of the car. Relatively small 13-inch wheels, but a huge amount of downforce. That's the cars. Victory cars have been on the scene now for about 7 years or so, and chassis manufacturers that used in the championship this year. Engineering Ginetta and Ades, two drivers. Most of the cars are shared cars with two drivers. Mandatory pit stop for everyone in the race. Competitive times starting to come through here, and every time something goes across the line, you get a different potential pole sitter. So of course, Danny Sufi, number 2 Creventic motorsport car, just now on top of 1.443, almost immediately that time is leading by the PGA, which is the BHK motorsport car. Is sole driver in that car, and just on a 1 minute 21.221 second laps. That's just over 0.2 of a second clear of the number 2 of Danny Sufi, who you are looking at now with Nico Silva as the co-driver, both American drivers here at Oschersleben to start the second season of the Prototype Cup Germany. Third quickest at the moment in the Gebhardt Motorsport Ginetta is Jakob Eilbacher, who's qualifying in this session. The other driver, if there are 2 drivers, qualifies in the second session, and whichever driver qualifies is the driver that starts the race. In Sperandio's case, it's going to be him because he's the only driver out there, still 0.2 of a second clear. But everybody out there setting personal best lap times. Sperandio in the 35 car has done an absolute best Sector 1, an absolute best Sector 2 time as well. So heading for the line, the Swiss driver might be about to improve upon his own time here. 121.2 to beat. Danny Sufi for now goes quicker, 120.849 though. And then Sperandio just behind on the circuit goes even quicker than that, 1 minute 19.843. So it looks like a duel at the moment between these two, although there's just over a second between them. Marcus Pommer, though, the ex-Formula 3 driver, splits the pack and by 0.8 of a second has gone in between them with the number 72 car you can see on screen there. Currently dropping down to 7th place, and that is the Creventic Kempi Motorsport car, one of the Finnish team that's out there running one of the DeQuen's chassis. Lawrence Hoare is the driver that's doing the qualifying session now. He's one of the gold level drivers. And So what Lawrence can do now over the line, and goes fastest of all with a 1 minute 19.814, but only by 29 thousandths of a second. There's a hot lap at the moment though for Marcus Pommer, who slipped back to fourth place in the number 15 car. Absolute best first sector time. The first sector takes in the run through the tight left-hander at turn 1, the very tricky hotel curve at turn 2, which arcs back on itself and which catches lots of cars out with understeering. They go up the short link straight to turn 3, out of turn 3, which is a big sweeping left-hand hairpin. That's where sector 1 ends. And the first sector in these cars is about 29 seconds long, as you look at Marcus Pommer going through the last sector, which is the longest sector in terms of time. Makes his way to the final corner, just drops a wheel over the curbs and heads for the line now. About to take another lap in, goes second with that one. In between times, we've got another new provisional pole sitter, which is Oscar Tunjo in the number 6 car. Another of the De Quinn chassis has gone into the 119s now, 119.346. Marcus Pommer's time that we just saw there gets him second place, and he's 83 thousandths of a second adrift. So Lawrence Hall's gone down to third place. Now Sperandio, who was quickest about 2 minutes ago, he's now suddenly down into fourth place in the 35 car, 77 in the De Quinn, the DKR engineering car, as next up in fifth place. And then in sixth place, as it stands, is the BWT Muka Motorsport car, which is driven in this qualifying session by Nico Gula. Gustavo Quilha, the Brazilian driver, sharing driving duties when they get to the race later on today. An improvement, and a big improvement, for the 99 Ligier, which has shot up to fourth place now. That is being driven by the father and son team, the Max and Mark van der Snel. And helpfully it's got M van der Snel on the timing screen, so I can't tell which of the two it is driving because they've both got the same initial. But an improvement as well into fifth place now for the number 14 MRS GT racing car, which is driven by Jan Marszalowski, German driver, going through. We're watching the 77 car, which is just outside the top 6 at the moment, of Robin Rogalski, the Polish driver, going for the line. It's a good lap this. Where will it put him on the grid provisionally? When he comes through, goes fourth, goes up onto the second row of the grid with that. So everybody but one driver out there, which is Sperandio, have just set their personal best lap times on that lap. We've got an absolute best first and second sectors for Hort, has gone to first place already. And Lawrence Hort, the German driver, might be about to go even quicker, a 1:18.953, his own benchmark time to beat. Can he get in even quicker time? It's going to be a 1:18 again. It's a 1:18.4 this time. So terrific first lap, which puts him 6 tenths down, 6 tenths up rather, on Tunjo. A replay, slow motion of the handling of these cars, bouncing around the low slung cars. You get it slightly wrong over those bounces. They're so low to the ground, the car can get unsettled, and that can happen to you. So a slight error there from Rogalski, who's in fifth place at the moment, to go off the road as we go into the final 5 minutes of this session. The Van der Snel car has gone third quickest now with a 1:19.295. Lots of cars understeering at turn 2 over the course of yesterday's practice sessions as well. So that lap is ruined, dirty tyres, but the car will live to fight another day. Into the top 10 for the first time has just gone the number 5 Van Ommen Racing car, which is driven in this qualifying session by Gabriela Jakova, the Czech driver. As we see Marcus Pommer getting back onto the front row of the grid with that lap, 1:19.054, but still half a second adrift in that number 15 car. And time beginning to run out now, and what's been a pretty frenetic session for these drivers. Marcus Pommer, 6-time winner in the ADAC GT Masters Championship, dropping a wheel over the curbs there. But personal best first sector for Oscar Tunjo as well, who's third at the moment, but looking to get back onto the front row of the grid. Martin Anderson in the pits is going to have to get back out very soon if he wants to get another lap in here, because there's 3 minutes 40 seconds to go. Got to get out around, do most of a lap, and then start a lap before the clock runs out. So here's Oscar Tunjo, started the lap well with 2 personal bests. It should be an improvement. Will it get him into the front row of the grid? Yes, it will, just about. So goes back into second, back ahead of Marcus Pommer, and by 2 tenths of a second gets himself up 1 grid position, but crucially onto the front row of the grid there in the number 6 De Quinn. So improvement for Danny Soufi. Not long ago that Danny Soufi was fastest and battling for pole position, but now trying to get back into the top 6. The number 2 car, the Conrad Motorsport car, down in 7th place. Lawrence Hall is provisionally on pole position with that 1:18.4. So 2 laps in the 1:18s. time for another couple of laps in this session. Just a little bit down on his own time at the moment, though. First sector was good, but not a personal best. Dropped a couple of, well, a tenth and a half in that middle sector, but you can get it all back. As Oscar Tunjo now sets a personal best, I can see on the timing screens, through the first sector of 28.995 seconds. So all comes through. Not sure this is going to be an improvement. It's a good lap, but it's a 1:18.7. So that's his second best lap of the session. Into the top 6 has gone number 8, Nico Gurla, with, off the road there. And in dramas, Sebastian Van Gotzen is not going anywhere soon. So that car looks like it's pulled off with a problem rather than he's had an off. So that's being seen to, and the red flags are going to come out with only 2.5 minutes left on the clock. That will probably be that in the session, and that will be frustrating for a couple of drivers that were on good laps there. No, he did go wide. Look, we see on the replay there, and yeah, you can just see the car starting to lose it from that shot. So it sends it out wide, and then, it took out one of the Pirelli marker boards and clipped the front left corner into the tyre stack and clipped the side of the car, the left side of the car, fairly square on into the barrier. So that car is the reason that we've got the red flag. It's currently 10th place. But we had Oscar Tunjo, who was on a good first sector and looking to perhaps challenge for provisional pole position. That's not now, I don't think, going to happen. Driver is okay by the looks of things, and just the officials there and the safety team making sure that the driver is okay. And their confirmation on the screen that the session is not going to be restarted. So will, with I think the 2 fastest laps of the session anyway, get that first pole position of the season in the Prototype Cup Germany, and by a reasonably healthy margin of just over 0.3 of a second. Well, Oscar Tunjo was, as I say, on a pretty good lap prior to that, and possibly about to challenge it. Marcus Pommer, who was thereabouts battling for second place all the way through the session. Pommer ended up in 3rd place, and Sperandio, who was one of the, I think, 6 drivers that was on provisional pole at one point or another, was also on a good lap, was on a personal best first sector when the red flags came out. So it was only 0.19 seconds away from being in the top 3, and didn't need much of an improvement to get up there on the inside of row 3 and get ahead of Marcus Pommer. But that's not now going to happen. And then we had the Van der Snel car, which made good improvements in the second half of the session, ended up in 5th place. And there was only 47 thousandths of a second between Sperandio in 4th and Van der Snel in 5th place. And then we had, with a late improvement, just in time, was Nico Gurla, who got the Muki Motorsport car number 8 up into the top 6 in the what were the closing stages of the sessions. Their confirmation on screen, the Hoare Luthen car, with Hoare qualifying and therefore starting the race later on, quickest and on pole position ahead of Oscar Tunjo in 2nd, with a very rapid Julian Potelas into the car later on. Marcus Pommer qualified the 3rd place car, Sperandio 4th, Van der Snel in 5th, Gurla in 6th, Rogalski 7th, 8th was Sufi, and then you can see Marszalowski there might be a little bit disappointed with what was in the end 9th place. Van Gotzen rounding out the top 10 ahead of Jilkova. Anderson, who pitted early and wasn't on the track at the end of the session. Hilbacher, Steiner and Rohrscheit were the rest of the runners. Everybody getting safely through the session except that one car that had the off that we saw. There were a couple of wide moments, but nothing dramatic. And as we get a super slow-mo of the number 72 pole sitting car and taking the car right to the edge of the circuit on the way out of that 14th turn to get the power down early, cross the line and take, in the end, the fastest 2 laps of the session. Also did another lap in the 1:18s. So that is it for qualifying. We will see you again later on for the first race of the 2023 season.
Die ersten 5 vielleicht noch, genau, das wir Oscar Tunjo, Markus